Welcome to the Drew Yari Show.
Welcome back to the show. It is Saturday, a special Saturday edition of the show. Sorry for not showing up on Wednesday. Spectrum cut off our internet. What happened was, it was Sunday. It was last Sunday. I came home. I had the house all to myself because my girl was at the beach. She had the day off. I didn't, and her brother literally just called and said, "Hey, are you guys off?" And she's like, "Well, I'm off." He's like, "We're gonna go to the beach." I just told her, just go. Just go have fun. Go hang out with family. It's fine. I just have the house to myself. So basically, I just worked, and as soon as I got off of work, I bought some wings, like you should, and watched the pay-per-view. I realized the internet's not working, so I'm thinking, is there a fucking outage? So I get a hold of Spectrum. The first thought in my head was, they better, I'm pretty sure they're already going to tell me about the past due. Because, in the past, have a pass that they would give you all month to pay. At least either the past due or the whole bill itself. Because I was actually planning on paying the past due, this coming Friday when I got paid. Which I ended up paying the past due. But they just ended up suspending my internet in general. And they've never done that before, but I guess they want to be more stricter about it, which I thought it was kind of stupid, but whatever. So from Sunday all the way to Friday, from last Sunday all the way to this past Friday, we were internetless, if that's a word. And which wasn't that big of a deal, because we have phones and tablets that we pretty much had all the apps on, like, Netflix and Hulu. So we were able to, survive without it. And then, so, Sunday through Friday, like I just said, Wednesday, since we do a show Wednesday, we weren't able to do a show Wednesday, so I just put out the alert, that, just, Wednesday's show is, canceled, but we'll do a show on Saturday since I'm available Saturday, and here we go. Alright, so we got personal stories out of the way. I guess a reminder for next week, Tuesday, Spider-Man Far From Home is coming out. So since it's coming out Tuesday and we do a show Wednesday, I guess now is as good a time as any. Next Wednesday I'll just be reviewing the movie. That's pretty much the only topic on hand. So if you have any questions, like I always say, feel free to leave any questions. Email me. Email me at the show, which is thedrewyaryshow@gmail.com. Or just hit me up on Twitter. Leave me any Twitter question. I'll even leave a link for you guys to leave your questions. Whether it's about the movie. More than likely just the movie in particular. So since we got all that out of the way, I guess we can just get into the topics at hand. It was announced yesterday or the day before that Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff Paul Heyman's already in the company, but Eric Bischoff got brought back. They're being brought in for executive producer roles. Paul Heyman will be in charge of Raw. Eric Bischoff will be in charge of SmackDown, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know. I just thought they would have went, in the past route. Like Eric Bischoff, he was the general manager of Raw, and Paul Heyman was the general manager in SmackDown. Paul Heyman was also the lead writer on SmackDown back in 2002, 2004. I know it was in 2002. I just don't remember when the last date was. And that was when the business was good. It was fun to watch. That was the beginning of of the draft, or that was when the draft was already prominent. But that was the beginning of relentless aggression I can't really do a Vince impression tonight. For some reason, I keep coughing, as you can tell. And any noise you hear in the back, that's my fan. It's cold everywhere else in our house, but not in our room, for whatever reason. Would have been sweet if they installed a fan in our room. That would have been awesome. Anyways, so yeah, Heyman Raw, Bischoff SmackDown. I'm hearing supposedly that Fox would have preferred Heyman on SmackDown, which I agree. I don't know. Again, it would have been interesting. It would have been better just to have Bischoff on Raw and Heyman on SmackDown, but whatever. I think it's good. I think it's good business. Is this something that's going to happen overnight? No. You don't just improve something overnight. It's kind of like a sports team. When you take a team that's been very mediocre for a while, they don't just automatically become good overnight. It takes time. You don't just automatically become 24-0 in the first 2 months. It takes time because you need your team to gel with your new star player, with their new starting quarterback. With Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff, it's going to take some time, definitely. Do I think they're going to be shackled? I don't think so. I don't think they would have taken the gig if they knew they were going to be shackled by Vince. Because in the reading, they're going to have to report to Vince. But I also think Vince is smart enough to know that Paul knows what he's talking about. That Eric knows what he's talking about. I think maybe Paul's a better booker than Eric. Eric was a good businessman. When he ran Monday Night Nitro, he was always a very good businessman. Was he a good booker? No, not really. But he knew how to run a business. He's also someone that I think the company kind of direly needs right now. He's someone... Eric Bischoff's a prick. Let's put it that way. And if he were here, he'd tell you the same thing. He's admitted on occasion that he's a prick. That he was a massive prick back in the day. And he still can kind of be. He's kind of someone that the company sorely needs. He's someone that can... I guess no talent, if that makes sense. He's someone that can, go to Baron Corbin and be like, yeah, you're not what we're looking for. You look like an Applebee's waiter. You're not our top guy. You don't look like a top guy. You need to, get the fuck out of here. You don't belong in the main event scene whatsoever. He's maybe someone that can maybe bring out the best. Or, you know what, that's Paul Heyman, actually. We'll get to Paul Heyman in a bit. But Eric Bischoff, it's interesting seeing him back in the WWE because... was he already in the company? Didn't he already have a role as like one of the writers or working on a creative team or an agent? I believe. I'm not sure. Because I think he was already in the company before. Obviously, he was in the company years before, but I believe he came back in a position. I'm not entirely too sure, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to look that up. But he's someone that I think the company needs. He was a good businessman. He knows how to work television. Even before he became, correct me if I'm wrong, even before he became, the what's it called? The owner of WC, or not really the owner, but in charge of WCW. He was in charge of doing a lot of background stuff. He was one of the producers for the show. He was good at marketing the show. As like he said, in WCW, he marketed the company more reality based. When he brought in Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, instead of giving them wrestling names, he just called them by the real names. He was more grounded in reality. He wanted to advertise more towards adults, more towards I wouldn't say an adult friendly company, but more for something that I guess an older audience, like, ages 15 to 30 can watch. Where at the time WWE was doing, Duke the Dumpster and, was it the hockey guy, the pirate? They were doing a lot of characters, like, cartoony, animated, wrestling. So I have faith in Eric to be able to pull it off. Again, he still has to answer to Vince. I'm not sure. I don't think he will have anything to do with creative. I don't know. A lot of the backstage stuff, I'm not always 100% sure. I've always said, I'm messing up my words up. I've always said I don't like to talk about things that I don't know 100% about. So I'm not going to begin to really know what Eric's job is going to entail. I know it's going to have to do with TV. Similar to what he did in WCW. Is he going to have to work directly with creative? I'm not sure. Paul Heyman, with Monday Night Raw is going to be interesting because, again, he was in charge of SmackDown, for that little brief period between 2002 and 2004, I believe, or maybe it was 2005, I don't know. He's interesting because he's one of the few people, in known history, and this is, coming from him, he's one of those people that can really get to Vince and kind of get away with it. And I think Vince likes that. I think Vince likes when people can, push his buttons. By liking it, I don't mean, yes, Paul, argue with me, piss me off. I want to punch you in the face. No. I think, he likes when people can just get in his face and just tell him the truth. There's a story, with Paul Heyman, working closely with Vince, that Paul was literally selling him almost a year's worth of wrestling, booking WrestleMania. And then Vince literally sneezes and the conversation stops. Paul's like, what's wrong? I sneezed. Okay, bless you. So, but how Raw will turn out under Paul Heyman's watch will be interesting. Again, like I said with Eric Bischoff, I don't know what their job entails. I don't know if they're working exclusively with creative. I don't know who was the executive producer for both shows before. So, again, my bad. I probably should have done my research a little bit thoroughly, a little bit better. But as a fan, I'm very interested. It makes me want to watch this. It really does make me look forward to Monday nights and Tuesday nights as well. Well, later on, in the fall, it's going to be Friday night SmackDown, which I'm okay with. I was always a fan of SmackDown on Friday. I think Friday's a better day for SmackDown. Tuesday just seems like a very off night, and it also gives the fans a little bit time to rest, because you have 3 hours of wrestling on Monday, and then you have 2 more hours the next night. You need to give fans time to breathe. So there's that. But yeah, overall, as a fan, it makes me want to tune in more. Because before I was saying that the shows are just bad. They're very unwatchable. You can maybe watch 30 minutes of it, and that's really all you need. I mean, mostly, I have Hulu, and I'm able to replay the shows, and luckily I can just fast forward through all the boring parts, which is, unfortunately, a big chunk of the show. So hopefully their positions, they're able to have a lot more, more freedom to kind of, weed out the fat, which is a lot of the roster. Give more time to the ones that are the most talented. On Raw, make Braun Strowman a fucking badass again. Make him relevant. Make him not a complete goof. Get rid of Bobby Lashley. Get rid of guys like Bobby Lashley who do nothing for the company. Unpopular opinion. I like Drew McIntyre. I'm not going to lie. I like Drew McIntyre. I like him a lot more than I did before. When he looked like, the British Blue Blood Triple H. I like Drew McIntyre. I think he's capable of it. His matches have gotten a lot better. He has a better look to him. His promos need work. And again, going back to what I said, I don't know, if Paul Heyman will be working exclusively with creative. I like to think he will, because he's an executive producer of the show. So, creative will have to report to him. and then he'll have to report to Vince. So, assuming that he is working exclusively with creative, he's going to have to be giving a lot of these promos to a lot of, these talents. The one thing that's always been said about Paul Heyman is that, he takes your weaks. He takes your weaknesses and turns that into a strength. And at the same time, he hides your weaknesses and exposes your strengths. I'm trying to think of some names. I'm like going out of my way. It's Steve Austin. Steve Austin was always known as just a guy who can go out there and have a good match. He comes to ECW, and Paul Heyman tells him, just look into the camera and say what's on you. And that's kind of what was kind of the prequel teaser to Steve Austin. I'm not saying Drew McIntyre will be Steve Austin, but I think the one thing that's missing with Drew McIntyre is his promos, because I hear him talk, it just sounds like, angry groundskeeper Willie. It comes off that way. And I know it's obvious because he has, he's Scottish accent, and so is groundskeeper Willie, but that's what it just sounds like. In wrestling, there's a really good promo, and then there's just a guy who yells. A guy who yells is just a guy who yells. That's not really giving a good promo. So hopefully, a guy like Drew McIntyre can thrive under Paul Heyman's watch. The women's division, same thing. What I've been saying about Becky Lynch. I love Becky Lynch, but ever since WrestleMania, she kind of just comes out and gives the same promo. She comes out and just calls people dopes and weirdos. So hopefully under Paul Heyman's guy, she can go out there and give a better promo. She's more than capable of going out there and giving a better promo. With a guy like Paul, we'll see. Seth Rollins, he's already a great wrestler. He's not a terrible talker. He kind of has that, I guess, 1980s, early 90s, stomp and clap babyface, Sting type of promo, where he just goes out there and, talks about how amazing he is and how much he loves the fans and how much the fans love him. So he's fine where he's at. It kind of reminds me of when, in the beginning of the process of Paul Heyman being on SmackDown in 2002, Edge told a story where Paul Heyman told him, I'm going to make you Sting. I'm going to make you my top babyface. That's what it kind of reminds me of. So I think a lot of people can really thrive off of Paul Heyman being in charge of Raw. I really do. Paul Heyman's usually, Paul Heyman's just, he knows talent. He knows how to bring out somebody's, strengths and hide their weaknesses. And he can take their weakness and turn it into a strength. He's that good. He's always been that good. Do we give him maybe too much credit? Yeah, it's possible, but Paul just knows, he knows talent. Have you heard of Steve Austin? Have you heard of CM Punk? Have you heard of people like Rick Rude? I'm interested to see how the talent can thrive with Paul. Eric Bischoff on SmackDown. It's one of those things where I'm not sure. I know Joey Numbers on Wrestling Soup. Shout out to Joey and Soup. He pointed out that a guy like Eric, that he can weed out talent. A guy like Kofi Kingston is like, Kofi, you winning at Mania was a great story, but it's time to give this to somebody else because you're just not cutting it. And I love Kofi, but Kofi's title run has really run its course, and it just seems like he's just being fed to guys that are complete pieces of shit. And maybe that's a little harsh to say. I wouldn't say a piece of shit, but he's wrestling guys that have kind of been irrelevant for the past few years, like Dolph, who somehow manages to keep getting chances. And then Samoa Joe, who I love Samoa Joe, but he's basically just pin me, pay me. Mr. Pin me, pay me. That's literally his gimmick in the company. And then you have Kevin Owens, who I love Kevin Owens, but it just seems like anytime Kevin Owens has a chance in this company, it somehow gets taken away. Might have had something to do with him not wanting to go to Saudi Arabia. So, again, maybe he's a guy that can thrive off of Eric Bischoff. I don't know. Again, it remains to be seen. Pretty soon, I'm almost positive, that the brand split's going to end. I mean, it kind of has with the whole wild card rule, which has been complete ass. I've noticed how WWE just recently they just don't really follow through with their storylines or anything that's supposed to be like an important storyline. Like for example, when they had the shake up, that didn't even last at all. Because what was it? What was it? Andrade was supposed to be on Raw, and then they sent him back to SmackDown. Samoa Joe didn't even get drafted. He just literally showed up to Raw. Like, that's literally how it ended. They did not give a shit about that shakeup. And then they have this wild card rule, which made absolutely no sense. You have Samoa Joe, who's supposed to be a Raw guy, facing a SmackDown guy in Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship. I don't know. It seems like they kind of quietly give up on their storylines without really announcing that they're done with it. I know the talk is that, the talk has always been Fox when they bought SmackDown. They didn't just want to buy SmackDown. They wanted, bigger stars, which kind of, I guess, insinuates, in my opinion, which I think, here's what I think could happen and what should happen. By the time, the deal starts, get rid of the draft, unify all the titles. Go back to having just one title, one world title, just the WWE title, get rid of the Universal title, no one cares about it anymore. No, it's that title's been cursed by the day it came in. Get rid of the Intercontinental, not Intercontinental, get rid of the US title because no one's ever given a shit about that. It's a WCW thing. Keep the Intercontinental title. So, unify both belts. Unify the women's championships and just have one women's champion. Have one set of tag champions. Because having two tag champions, having two tag team championships, again, it doesn't make it. It would work if there were some tag, champions that can carry the brands, but it doesn't because there's really not that many good tag teams. Same thing with the women's. There's only a handful of top women in the company. The others are just kind of scrubs. So just have one woman's title and make the titles mean something. And then keep the Cruiserweight title, which kind of segues into the next topic. 205 Live is apparently being canceled at the end of the year, but not the Cruiserweight division in general. Let me pull this up real quick. I have it on Facebook. Oh, come on. Alright, and according to a report by Brad Shepard, he was told that 205 Live will be discontinued before the end of the year, judging by attendance, poor network reviews. There's good news, though. Both Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff want to mingle the talent with Raw and SmackDown stars. The plan would be these superstars could also contend for the IC, US, and Tag titles. However, only superstars weighing 205 or less could challenge for the Cruiserweight Championship. Talents such as Finn Balor could become Cruiserweight Champion, which would lend some credibility to the championship, good or bad idea. I was always under the impression that the Cruiserweights would mingle with the other talent, because I just always thought it was weird how the Cruiserweights were always in their own I guess, their own world. As to say, like, because when they were first brought in, they were brought on Raw, and they were never they never like participated or interacted with any other non-cruiserweight stars, and then they end up getting their own show, and pretty soon, I guess some of them started mingling more with the top talent, like Mustafa Ali. They put him on SmackDown, and then I think they put him back on 205 Live, and now he's fighting crime, which don't even get me started on that. He had Buddy Murphy. So I don't know. They should have done that to begin with, because it's kind of like the old days of SmackDown when the cruiserweights were on SmackDown, and you saw them interact with a lot of the top guys. You saw people like Paul London interact with Eddie Guerrero. You saw Shannon Moore interact with JBL. I just thought it was always very interesting. It was always interesting back then because you had better matchups. And with the cruiserweights, it's not official. They haven't really. It's not set in stone. It's just a rumor, so take it with a grain of salt. So, with Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff, back in town, especially with Eric Bischoff because he has a history, because he brought the cruiserweights in on Nitro. Again, not saying that's his baby, since you had Paul Heyman, he brought Lucha Libre, to the mainstream audience on ECW. He brought in guys like Eddie Guerrero. He brought in Jericho. He brought in Mysterio and Psychosis. So they, those guys both have a history, dealing with the cruiserweights, in the Lucha Libre stuff. So with 205 Live supposedly coming to an end, you get to see them on the mainstream, show. So now the audience can be more accumulated or more familiar with 205 Live. Like, what is this? This is a show? These guys are pretty nuts. And again, they were already on Raw, but only really a handful, because you would only see a handful of cruiserweight matches on Raw. You would only see, I guess, the quote-unquote top guys from 205 Live on Raw. Now you get to see everybody. Now you get to see interesting interactions. You get to see Finn Balor versus Drew Gulak. Maybe even have Akira Tozawa have a match with Shinsuke Nakamura. Or who else is another top guy? Buddy Murphy versus Cesaro, for example. Those would be some pretty interesting matches. And then the thought of having Finn Balor as the Cruiserweight Champion, I wouldn't hate that. Yeah, it definitely would give the title more credibility. It definitely needs it. A guy like Drew Gulak, I like him. He's very charismatic. He's very talented. But, compared to him and Finn Balor's a bigger star than him. To give the title to Finn Balor would make it more credible. Or to, I'll just throw out a random name right now, Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods would definitely, mean a lot to that title, because how tall is Xavier Woods exactly? Xavier Woods' height. Oh, come on, dude. All right, Xavier Woods' height. He's 5'11". He's 205 pounds. I don't know if that's official, but hey, that works. He can be a cruiserweight champion. Xavier Woods, good wrestler, can cut a good promo. That would work. Or, say you bring in more NXT guys into the main roster. Put that title on Adam Cole. That would make it very credible. That would make the cruiserweight division on Raw and SmackDown, really interesting to watch. Like Johnny Gargano. Let's say you put the cruiserweight title on Johnny Gargano, and you can have him be champion for like a year. Have him be, the workhorse champion, the champion that everybody loves. So that way, you don't run the risk of, hey, where's Adam Cole? He's on 205 Live. How the hell do I watch that show? now you can see Adam Cole in the Cruiserweight division on Raw and SmackDown. You can still watch your favorite guys on Raw and SmackDown. They're now just a part of the Cruiserweight division. You know what I mean? So yeah, again, it's not set in stone, it's just a rumor. But it wouldn't surprise me if it came out as true. I've never watched a single episode of 205 Live. Just had no interest. I heard, lately it was getting pretty good. But, again, just never found the time. Never was really that interested in watching it. Just, it doesn't surprise me that it's, ending supposedly at the end of the year. It's something that never should have happened. Not the Cruiserweight division, but the show. They should have just had everyone on Raw and SmackDown and, just should have had them interacting with other wrestlers other than, the Cruiserweight 205 Live guys. It was just an odd look. You know what I mean? I guess what's next on the agenda? Will Ospreay and Seth Rollins had a little Twitter dispute on the Twitter sphere. I know this started because Seth Rollins last week before the pay-per-view, before Stomping Grounds, was going out his way to defend the company, which looking back on it, I think I reacted badly to it. It makes sense that he's going to defend the company because Seth Rollins is looked at as like a locker room leader. He's the captain, so of course he's going to defend his team. He did an interview where he kind of not necessarily buried Dean Ambrose, or Jon Moxley as his name is now, but he just kind of, I guess, was honest about it. He said he thought it was a little presumptuous that he went on Jericho's podcast and presumably I'm saying the word wrong. Presumably trashed a company that made him rich, that made him a millionaire, that that is the reason why he's married and met his wife. So it's kind of 50-50. I thought it was kind of weird that he was talking down on someone who's supposed to be his friend on a podcast instead of saying it to his face. Maybe he did say it to his face. I don't know, but I just thought it was kind of odd. I know Kevin Castle had an interesting take about it. Shout out to Kev. Listen to his show, Castle Carnivals. It was an awesome show last night, by the way. Kev really just goes on a tangent, just taking a lot of people to task. I put on Twitter that I respect Kev. I really respect him. I don't agree with everything he has to say, but I respect it because he's honest and he sticks to his guns. And at the same time, he'll have facts, as part of what he's saying. Most people will just say something, me, and not really have all the facts. But Kev will say a lot of shit. He'll say stuff that's very outlandish at times, but he'll back it up. He'll have the facts to back it up, and he'll stick to his guns, and I respect that. I respect people that will say what they have to say and stand by it. And that's why I respect that, Kev. Yeah, he really took Jon Moxley to task. Because it just seems like ever since the Jon Moxley interview on Jericho, Moxley's kind of died down a little bit. He just won the U.S. Championship for NJPW, and I think he's wrestling tonight for the Fyter Fest, which I'm not going to be able to watch because I think we're going to go out a little later. The show's going to be a little short tonight. We're going to go out a little later. Me, the girlfriend, and the sister-in-law. But I'll try to catch the replay. I'll try to. I want to try and be up to date with as much, wrestling, outside of WWE as much as I can be, just so I'm able to talk about it more on the show. But I don't know. It just seems like ever since the Talk Is Jericho interview, the hype for Moxley's been kind of dying down slowly. I've only seen the match that he had with Juice Robinson. That's about it. He's fighting Joey Janela tonight, which I like Joey Janela. But he needs to put on a little muscle. I mean, I'm not, the strongest guy in the world. I don't have a physique of Tony Nese or something, but I guess I'm on the old school mindset of a wrestler supposed to look like a wrestler. He's not supposed to look like a guy that you see at a PacSun, shopping at PacSun, buying a fucking wife beaters or whatever. But I don't know. Going back to Seth, he said what he had to say about Dean, and for all I know, they might have talked about it in person. Maybe he told him straight up, "Hey, dude, I gotta say, I don't think that was pretty cool what you said about the company. The company made you a millionaire." It's kind of back and forth. Like, yeah, the company made him a millionaire. They made him a success. They put titles on him. They put the world title on him. But as far as as a character, they just made him look like a complete idiot. So I think for Dean or Jon Moxley, he cares more about his image rather than titles, which I guess makes sense. But a guy like Seth, he's proud to be in the WWE. He's proud to be the guy. He's very happy to be the guy, and I like Seth. But yeah, he had those tweets about saying, best wrestling in the world, yada yada yada, which of course he's going to defend his own company. And then he put on Twitter. This is where the fight started, or he put best wrestling on the planet. Find anyone else alive who does what I do as well as I do it as often as I do. You can't. And then Will Ospreay replied, "I'm alive." And Seth Rollins replies, "Oh, I'm sorry, little guy. We already have a better version of you here, and he just won his first U.S. title tonight. Ricochet, keep working hard though, buddy." And Will Ospreay replied, "You love adding stuff, don't you? Seth Rollins talks about his bank account. He says, if you want to talk numbers, we can compare bank accounts. P.S. That's counting a month off with a broken back. Thumbs up, buddy." Will Ospreay said, "You love adding stuff, don't you? The original question was, find anyone else alive who does what I do, as well as I do it as often as I do it." Jesus. No talk of money, no talk of Ricochet. You said anyone, here I am. Just as consistent, just as good. Hope the back heals up. And it says, speaking with Sports Illustrated, Ospreay stood his ground. "My championship is a little bit more prestigious than your championship," talking to Rollins. "More power to him, good luck, but my string of matches with Monsieur alone has a lot of people talking about what I can do, and I'll focus on that instead of what Seth Rollins is doing on social media." And he says, "The whole thing makes me laugh." He put out there, "Find anyone else alive," and I'm not even going to repeat it. "Yeah, you're on the road for 300 days a year. Sorry, I'm not. I'm doing 250. His response was, "Little guy, I'm the same bloody height as you." Yeah, I checked that. Well, Ospreay is actually the same height as Seth Rollins. I think Jericho even pointed that out, which I don't know why Seth would call him little guy. Obviously he didn't know what his height was. He just assumes all, I guess, lightweights are, under 5'9" or whatever. Then he said, "He has Ricochet, a better version of me. Why is he involved in someone else? Ricochet is the man who is one of the best at his style. Well, why get him involved? This is between me and you. I feel like Rollins has respect for me. And I've got respect for Rollins. I'd love to have a match with him one day. But right now, it's not my vision." And yeah, that's about it. And then Baron Corbin replied, I think you're just trying to be a wise ass. And he said, "By the way, I don't even know who Will Ospreay is. I just want to get involved." And then Will Ospreay put, "No wonder Raw sucks." I guess just point out the obvious. Not a lot of people know who Will Ospreay is. If you pulled in 100 wrestling fans, maybe 10% of them would know who Will Ospreay is. Because it's going back to the obvious. Not everyone watches NJPW. Not everyone watches Ring of Honor. Not everyone watches... Not even a lot of people watch NXT. A lot of people watch WWE. If you pulled in 10 people, let's say, and you showed them a picture of Baron Corbin and Will Ospreay, 8 people will probably tell you that they know who Baron Corbin is, unfortunately. And 2 people will tell you that they know who Will Ospreay is. Seth is clearly the bigger star. He's on a major. He's in the biggest wrestling company in the United States. Sorry, AEW, who hasn't even had their weekly show started yet. Yeah, you had Double or Nothing, and you did big buys, but can you do that again? Are you just a flash in the pan? For all we know, AEW probably won't even last. Probably won't even last that long. It'll probably just last a year, maybe even a couple months. I don't know. I don't want that to happen. I want healthy competition in the wrestling business. Using this as an example with Rollins and Ospreay, and for all I know, they could be friends. This could be a work, which it probably is. Healthy competition in wrestling, it works. I don't want guys that hate each other and say, I'm going to beat your ass. I want guys to say, hey, what'd you think about my match? Follow that. I like healthy competition, and this works, for the wrestling business. I want to see this work. I want to watch AEW and for them to take a shot at WWE. I want, Cody Rhodes already does it. I want someone like Kenny Omega to say, I'm a better wrestler than your world champion, whatever his name is. And I want Seth, to take shots at Kenny Omega. I like healthy competition. I like when they did that on WWE. I like when they did that in Monday Nitro, which supposedly, the wrestlers there didn't even hate the other wrestlers. Guys like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, they were still friends with Triple H and Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin and Undertaker. They love those guys, but at the same time, they went out there to succeed. So I like what I'm seeing. I like friendly competition. I don't want this to escalate into, oh yeah, well, if I ever see you in the parking lot, I'm going to beat your ass. No, I don't want to see that happen. I don't ever want to see 2 grown-ass men fight. I would rather just see what I'm seeing right now. Seth Rollins saying, hey, what'd you think about my match? I'm the top guy. People know who I am. Who are you again? And then a guy like Will Ospreay, who's capitalizing on being called Little Man, he has a shirt saying Little Man. So, there you go. That's really all, I guess, that's really all I really have to say. At the end of the day, just what I said earlier, Seth, everyone knows who Seth Rollins is. A lot of people know who Will Ospreay is. Seth is the guy. He is the top guy in the company right now. More of a top guy than Kofi Kingston. More of a top guy than Roman. Roman just, again, hasn't been the same. And I'm just going to be honest here, and this might piss a lot of people off. I think he's a bigger star than Kenny Omega. I've never been the biggest Kenny Omega fan. I've seen his matches. He's a very good wrestler, good worker, but that's about it. To me, he's not a guy that can move the needle. They'll obviously make him the guy in AEW, but I don't even think that'll work. AEW would need someone like John Cena to come in and really move the needle. They would need Batista to move the needle. A guy like Kenny Omega is not going to be your top guy. He's not going to move the needle. Seth Rollins. Is he moving the needle? Not really, but I would take Seth Rollins over Kenny Omega. I think Seth is a better worker. I think he's more charismatic than Kenny. I don't think Kenny is really that charismatic. I don't get his appeal, personally. I get it, and I don't. Yeah, he's a good wrestler, but what else? Sell Kenny Omega to me. Which kind of segues into a couple questions that I have. But I don't know. Just never been a Kenny Omega fan. I know that might piss a lot of people off. That might make people think I'm, a terrible wrestling fan and will make people hate me and want to get me kicked off a Spreaker. Hey, go for it. Just not a Kenny Omega fan. Never have been. I just think personally Seth is a better worker and a bigger star than him. Just a personal opinion. To finish the night off, I have a couple questions. I have them screenshotted on my phone. The first is going to be by the trademark Tyler. What's up, Tyler? Shout out to Tyler. Listen to the show on Spreaker and Podbean. Good dude, Tyler. He wants to know: do you think WWE would be better with Heyman and Bischoff, or same old, same old? I believe I just answered that. What I'm saying is, I think it'll work, but it's going to take some time. It's not going to be something that just happens overnight. Ty's a sports guy like me. It's kind of like when you get a new quarterback, or we'll stick with football. I think Ty's more of a football guy. It's like when you get a new quarterback for the team. It takes time. You need time for your guys to gel. And also, with the talent that's already on the show, Paul and Eric, they're going to have to work cut out for them because they're going to have to work with these guys. They're going to have to see what they're made of. Assuming, again, I'm just going to come on and say it, I think they're probably just going to work exclusively with creative. Creative's, going to have all the promos, and they're going to give them to Paul and Eric, and they're going to have to report to Vince. So it's going to take time, but I think it could work. I don't think Paul and Eric would have taken the job if they knew that they would be shackled by Vince. And I don't think Vince would have hired them just to say, I'm only hiring you just so we can bring in more viewers, but show's mine, damn it. This is good shit. So I think it'll work, Tyler. That's just my opinion. Thanks for the question, Tyler. And last question. Well, I only have two questions. Grand Inquistor? Metal Music Chap. Here's an interesting question, which I've been thinking about. A question for the show. In your opinion, whom do you feel is the more polarizing figure from the perspective of a wrestling fan, Dave Meltzer or Vince Russo? Again, I've been thinking about that question, about how to answer it. I don't know how to answer that. Here's how I'll answer it, though, which is Dave Meltzer is a year older than Vince Russo. He's just checked his birthday. He's 59, and I believe he's gonna be 60 at the end of the year. Vince Russo just turned 58. They have two very different views on the business. Vince Russo is very old school. He's from the old school mindset of he's seen guys like Bruno back in the day. He's seen the Sheik. He's seen Hulk Hogan. He grew up with the Giants. He grew up with larger-than-life superhero characters. Vince Russo is not a fan of Will Ospreay. He's not a fan of Kenny Omega. He's not a fan of the Young Bucks because the way he sees them is they look like they're small guys. They're vanilla midgets, bro. That's the way he sees it. That's just the way Vince Russo views wrestling. Vince Russo does love wrestling. He does. But he's more of a fan of characters, which is the wrestling he grew up on. A lot of us grew up on that wrestling. Wrestling at the end of the day is about characters. Which is why, Jim Cornette despises him, because Jim Cornette is very old school. He's all about wrestling. He wants, the seriousness in wrestling. Whereas Vince Russo, again, is all about characters. Larger-than-life superhero characters. Dave Meltzer is the opposite. He has made it very clear that he's in bed with AEW. That he loves Cody, he loves Kenny, he loves the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks even name their fucking finisher after Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer will go out of his way to give 5 stars to Hiroshi Takanaka versus Tujitsu Fujijami. That will get 6 stars. That supposedly will be match of the year over a match that people maybe saw, which is maybe like a Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins. And Dave Meltzer will give that an okay review, but he'll give a match between two guys nobody's ever heard of, the match of the year. which I remember watching a video, like a shoot video, with Kevin Nash, where he talked about the reason why he doesn't like Meltzer, where he was just like, were you actually there? Like, did you actually fucking watch it? And he's just like, oh, go fuck off. Like, he never was really a fan of Meltzer. I'm not really too big of a fan of Meltzer. I'm not gonna trash Meltzer because I don't know him. I respect Meltzer, but I'm not too big of a fan, personally. He's made, which I just find it kind of odd, where I'm gonna steal a phrase from Don Tony. Selective outrage, where Dave Meltzer will put over anything in Ring of Honor, anything in Japan. Nobody will bat an eye. Vince Russo will criticize, the Elite, the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, and Kenny Omega. Everybody will lose their fucking minds because they'll go, oh, he's out of touch. He doesn't know the wrestling business. Get with the times, old man. And it's like what I literally just said earlier. Vince Russo is a year younger than Dave Meltzer. So, granted, Kusar, I know I'm like really all over the place with this question. That's really, I guess, my answer. The wrestling fans nowadays, the internet wrestling community, they really, I guess, flock more to Meltzer because Meltzer will put over their shit that they like. And they hate, Russo because Russo is just honest. He's like, I'm just a dude that grew up watching wrestling. I grew up watching larger-than-life guys, and I just think that's what makes a better wrestler. That's just my opinion. So, and another unpopular opinion, I don't hate Vince Russo. I know a lot of people hate Vince Russo. I think over the years, I've grown to like Russo a lot more because Russo, again, like I was saying about Kevin Castle, Russo is just an honest guy. He just has what's on his mind. He might say some things that are a little outlandish, and by little, I mean a lot. But again, I appreciate honesty in a person. I like someone... I respect people who stick to their guns and don't change shit on a dime. So, that's my answer to your question, Cran. Thanks for the question, by the way. That is it. That's the show. That's the whole show. I told you it was going to be a very short show tonight. Shout out to Wrestling Soup. Miss Joe and Miss Joe and John. Make sure you go to their Patreon. Just for $5, you get everything, including exclusive content. Never before heard shows like Global Botting with John Trick. And then DTKC's Patreon, just for $5, same thing. You get everything, including original content like Breakfast Soup with DT and Nish. And then you get Kevin Castle. He has 2 shows. He has Castle Chronicles, which is his own solo show. And then you have Dark Chronicles, which is a show with him and Trez, another good friend of the show. Shout out to Trez, by the way. Texas Podcast Massacre. These guys review horror movies from past and present. Even if it's kind of like when you watch a bad horror movie with your friends and you guys are just like having fun and just like talking shit throughout the whole movie. That's basically what these guys are. These guys make even bad horror movies fun. Mentioning at least I was on the show twice. I'm ready and willing to go back again. They just gotta let me know, and I'm there. Tyler the Trademark, shout out to Ty, good friend of the show. He has his own show on Podbean, Spreaker, I believe Spreaker, which is just called the Trademark Show. Ty's a good dude. Bischoff Brian, you can find his show on Spreaker. Another good friend of the show, good dude, love Brian. Julian from the Wrestling Court. His show, I believe, is every Thursday before Wrestling Soup. Good dude. Does a lot. He's probably the busiest man in pod, or one of the busiest people I know. Does a lot of, like, Comic-Cons, and I don't know how he does it. He's a better man than me. I forgot. Arc Attack Podcast with Derek, Irvin. Good friends of the show. I've known Derek for a very long time. Find them on pretty much where every podcast is distributed. They were on the show not too long ago where we reviewed Endgame, Avengers Endgame. So listen to that. It was a fun show. It was a very long show. The Peter position, which you can find anywhere, specifically on Spotify. I was on that show not too long ago, so it was fun. And also, before I go, I want to give a shout out to a good friend of mine. She was on the show a few times, Jessica. January 25th. On January 25th, she is throwing a huge fucking party. Like a huge ball. And she needs to sell some tickets, so help my girl out. Tickets are only $26. $26 covers everything. Drinks, parking, everything. Entertainment. Leave the kids at home. Just come here, have fun. It's a party. There's going to be plenty of booze, food, and people. Just help my girl out. I will leave the link in the description box, the PayPal link. And just pay your $26, get you a ticket, and on January 25th, make sure you show up. And the theme is kind of like an old school ball, so dress up. Anyways, I will be back, regular scheduled time on Wednesday. I will be reviewing Spider-Man Far From Home. And take care, guys, and peace out.